So if you have any general questions or questions about these sessions, what I'm talking about here in the on these questions, you can jump in and ask. Otherwise, hopefully you're familiar with what I'm asking when we're talking about the STR sessions. We'll start in just a couple of minutes. Make sure you have signed in, responding to the questions there. Just want to give everybody time to join that's coming in. Okay, we're starting in a couple of minutes. Make sure you're muted unless you have a question. Otherwise, we're kind of hearing what's going on over there. Okay, just a couple more minutes. I think we're still missing just a few. So just make sure you've put your response there in the chat box. Let me know if you have a question about these sessions. So this helps me with attendance also, even though I check it a couple of different ways. Hope you guys are doing well. We'll start in just a minute. Yeah, we're missing several right now. So let me give just another couple of minutes. Hopefully we'll have more join up. As you're coming in, you're contributing to the chat box. You see your questions there on the screen. We'll get started together in just a minute. Hopefully you've been able to get registered for the Science of Teaching reading sessions, whether you're seeing them live or recorded. There will be a new link coming out for this Friday's sessions. If you haven't registered before, you'll need to register using that new link. If you have registered already and you're already a part of the Canvas class, then you don't need to register again. You'll be able to access the sessions from there. And it's the same link each time. And I'll put that in over there in the Canvas class. So guys, any questions about those sessions? Is there anyone that doesn't know what I'm referring to or that isn't familiar with the Canvas class that I'm talking about? Let me know, because I want everybody to be on board with understanding about that test prep opportunity. It's not required, but it's just something that I'm offering and hoping most of you will take advantage of if you need to. Okay, so just make sure you respond there in the chat box. I want to hear from each of you. And then, but we're going to go ahead and get started now, giving everybody time to get in here, hopefully. So hope you guys are doing well. Hope you've had a good couple of weeks. So at this point, I've looked at I've looked at some of the work. Of course, I haven't graded everything since it was all due today at this time. So hopefully at this point you have completed, well, let me go back to our first week, your foundation standings activities. If you weren't here for our first class back on January 19th, you had the recording that hopefully you viewed. And at this point, everybody in. And at this point, you are completed with all of the homework that was listed there. I hope that you did well with, you know, organizing your time. Giving 2 weeks for each module is really intentional, because I do put a lot of information in there for whatever component we're working on for that week. So it's definitely in your best interest to spread out across time, across those 2 weeks. And for a couple of reasons. If you find early on that you have a question or need some help, then we have time to talk about that and I can help you with that. And 2, just because it helps you to not feel rushed and to, you know, just absorb and take in the information better than when you're trying to get it all done, you know, right before class. So like I said, often if you take the class, since we meet every other week to give you guys time to do the assignments, that you could take the time in the weeks we don't meet to sit during our regular class time and, you know, work through the activities that are posted for that week. So before I jump into our discussion, are there any just overall general questions about our assignments, about anything with our class that you weren't sure about?
I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Angel.
So my printer, I'm doing the STR and
The binder?
yes, the binder, and I have to stop in the middle of print. So basically it's gonna be late because I ran out of ink. And I was just wondering how many late points is that?
No, that's fine. You can have some extra time to get that up there and, you know, just get it posted as you can over the next week or so. Remember, you can also get a campus. I learned that you're able to do that if you need to, and you still have your credit for printing. So that's an option too, if you want to do that. And for those of you that don't want to, you know, I did send out that announcement. So hopefully some of you have been able to do that. But
Okay.
just submit it as you finish it up, Angel. Really, we'll be using it each time. And so it's going to be most helpful for you to have it ready, especially by the next time we meet.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I just came in and it looks like you asked a question because people are responding on the chat. What were your questions?
Well, I'll get back to that in a little bit. We had that
Okay.
up the first 5 minutes, so I'll put it back up after a while.
Okay.
Okay, so anything else with our first week's assignments, guys? Were you able to access everything? So you see kind of how Canvas works, and making sure, just as a reminder, when you have questions, you're going through the modules to get them, to look at the details of assignments. And that's going to be where it's most helpful for you, because if you're just looking at the assignments, it might not give you all the details that you need. So make sure you're looking at it through the modules, looking at our assignments through the modules and submitting through the links that are there. So the first thing I want to look at, because we are, like I said, when we were together before, that usually the time that we have together in class is going to be to discuss the module that you worked on in the 2 weeks previous, to do some wrap up to discussion, to do some alignment between how what you all worked on is helping you prepare for, you know, your future classrooms as well as your certification exams. So that's pretty much a little routine that we'll get into for our class time together. I'll do some whole class discussion, and then you'll get into some small group work around whatever assignments you have prepared for today. So that's why it's going to be important that you're ready for each class with your assignments, because you'll be sharing them from week to week when we're together. So with that in mind, I just want you to look at that wrap up reflections chart that was your final assignment last week as you finished, or the last couple of weeks. And I just want to hear from a couple of you, or, you know, let's do 3 or 4, where you can say, okay, I'll talk about the literacy article, and here's what I learned from that, or here's a question that I have. So just jump in about anything from this chart, anything you learned, and you're looking at your own copy that you've turned in now. So I'd like to hear from some what you learned and any thoughts or questions you have about any of those assignments to get started. And then in a little bit, guys, you'll get in small groups and get more specifically into this essential components of literacy assignment. So more discussion around that. So who wants to jump in and contribute, tell us which activity you want to talk about, what you learned, or any questions you have about it. Let me just hear from a few of you.
I can talk about the literacy article. I did, like, when you started the discussion with the teachers, I didn't, like, I guess since I haven't started teaching, I didn't know that, like, that you need to assess them right away in regards to their, like, reading and writing. That's, I guess, since I haven't really been in the classroom. I've been, like, in pre-K, but we don't do that there. So that was something new I learned, that you need to, like, start doing that right away so you can figure out where they are and what you need to do as a teacher.
Good. I'm glad that stood out for you. That's that kind of early pre-assessment, formative assessment we need to do to get started, to know where to begin with our students. So good. That's an important thing for you to notice. Who else?
I really thought the essential components of literacy illustration, I thought that was like really cool how you illustrated it. And then like for us to make up our own, like it took a lot of creativity, but I think it was really, really cool.
Okay, good. Yes, I'm excited. I've been looking at some of those that have been submitted and ready to see everybody's. And I think what I'll do is put them together into like a PowerPoint so you can see one another's, and I'll post them as a resource. Because as we'll talk about in a little bit, those are like that's the visual we want to have in our mind when we're thinking about the foundation of literacy development. So whatever you created there, and of course some are definitely more artistic and creative than others, but it's whatever your idea is that helps it to stick. So I'm glad you found that helpful. A lot of that actually too with the visuals, guys, sorry.
I enjoyed the ethnographic ice periodic session because like at first I was like, oh, well, they're like around the fire and they're smiling, so they look happy, they must be celebrating something. And then I just realized that a lot of the words were the like, oh, I think, or they must, they were like inferences instead of actual statements like this is going on. So it was good to know that when you're an observer, it should be natural, because you don't want to make assumptions and opinions, because those are not facts. So that's not what's going on.
Exactly. Great reflection. And that's exactly what we were trying to get out of that early activity with the ethnography, is really thinking about the way that we're looking at students and their data, the work that they're doing, and the way that we're talking about it. So that's a great thing to point out. I'm glad you found that helpful. I'm going to talk to you about that again in a minute. So a couple more. Let me hear from two more of you. I'm glad to hear your reflections and things that stood out for you. And of course, you're submitting these too, so I'll be able to see them there if you don't share now. Just go ahead and jump in.
About the literacy article, I thought it was really interesting how you mentioned the importance of creating relationships with the students and focusing on that first, so you can get to know them better, and that will help you with your assessments later on.
Mm-hmm. Good. I'm glad that stood out for you. I mean, it's one of those things, like it's our first instinct when somebody says, why do you want to be a teacher? Well, I love kids. That's a quick response. But there's so much more that goes along with saying we love kids and what we need to do in our classroom to help our kids be successful. But I always say, hearing that from anybody who says why they want to be a teacher, I'm like, good, you have the first step down. You know that you need to like the students that you're with, you need to build a relationship with them, and that's important, and what a lot consider the most key factor in being able to move forward in, any kind of instruction. If I don't feel comfortable with you, if I don't like you, if I feel like you don't like me or care about me, then I'm not going to be that risk taker that I need to be as a student, especially developing reading and writing. and I'm not going to feel comfortable to, make mistakes and try something or even share something with you that really would make a difference in me moving forward. And, that's true at all ages. You think of yourselves as students too. It's like, it makes a difference if the class is fully online or if we get to see each other now and then, in the way that you feel about the class and about the content and all of that. So I'm glad that that stood out for you, because it is key. The relationship building across all content, across all grades and ages is important. Okay, one more.
I want to mention the ethnographic eyes, specifically the cookie thief video. I really loved it because there's a really strong message behind that video. And for me, as an aspiring teacher, I realized that we're not always right, and personally, I feel like we can learn a lot from children. So that just solidified my belief in that. And it was just a really big eye opener for someone like me who is going into the field to just realize you're not always right. And it's okay to make mistakes, but you have to be able to realize that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm so glad that, and that's the perfect transition. And I do want to hear from everybody, but like I said, you're submitting your chart, so I get to see them after. But we'll move on, because you, Marisol, got me the perfect transition, because that's where I want to start, is just that reflection on ethnography and what you saw in that whole session, beginning with that video all the way through the pictures and everything that you were commenting on. So just in case, guys, what she's talking about is this the Pear Deck session, the interactive session, and hopefully you've all been able to complete it. If you've had any issues or if you have questions, you're going to need to do that after and talk to me about it so that you know what we're talking about. I put it right here at the beginning of our semester, because understanding about ethnography and that way of observing is just is very key at this point in where you are in your program, how you're beginning to work with students, observing either one-on-one or in classrooms. That it's just like you just said, it's eye-opening to think, when I see something, am I seeing it through the eyes of my own perspective or through the eyes or perspective of others, and recognizing that just what I see doesn't make it fact just because I say that it's true. So I need to have data to back that up. Any of my thoughts that I'm having to then, what that does is help you later to be an advocate for your student, to be able to say, here are the things he's doing in reading and writing. And you see, I'm talking from data. He began at this percentage and this assessment and is now at this point. And we're not talking about, well, he's, he's super cute. I think that he's just not trying hard enough. I think that his sister is not helping him as much as she should. All of those things are opinions that are bringing in, that are coloring our overall viewpoint. And so what ethnography helps us to do is say, let's stick to the facts. What can we prove? And what we can prove are the results of the assessments, the improvement that has been made after as a result of work you've done together, and just notes that you've actually taken. And what's cool about ethnography is the fact that you can say, I believe this is what I see through the observations, and this is what I think it might mean. So it gives you that opportunity to have those opinions come in. And so that's why it's important to think, okay, what are the facts and what are the opinions, when you're really looking at the way that you're dividing out your observations. And maybe you learned that you are giving all descriptive details, or maybe you see a mix of both. And that's a good reflection at this point, and good for us to move forward from here with this idea of being a neutral observer and a neutral recorder of data that we get from our students. And so all of that is important, because you're going to be working one-on-one with students. And whenever I say, well, how did they do on the sight word assessment? I don't want you to say they did awesome. They were great. They're wonderful. I want you to say they scored a 95%. which indicates they have mastered this list of words. Or they scored at a 75%, which indicates that I need to do a review over this sight word list. And, you know, so what does the data say and how does that inform your instruction? And so we'll be, you know, looking for that in the way that we're moving forward and talking about our students and using the data. So that's why we start out with that activity, to really help us think that what is the foundation? How do we explore data? How do we talk about our students? And, you know, how are we prepared to really be advocates, like I said, to be, whether it's with parents, administrators, or in our own classrooms. That data is what helps us to know what we're teaching and why for each of our kids, helps us to form small groups and make sure that they're where they need to be. So all of that is important, and I'm glad it stood out for you. For sure, if you haven't been able to complete that yet, you need to do that, because we're really going to refer back to that throughout the semester. The other thing is that essential components of literacy activity. That's where you looked at the videos and completed the practice, you know, the different components of literacy, and also did the visual as a part of that activity. And so really, I want you guys to talk about that activity in small groups, because that one is a little more extensive. And those are the different literacy components that we are needing to emphasize and understand. And so I want to make sure that you're all comfortable with that assignment and what you did and what you created there on that assignment. So during this time, what I'm doing is opening up you have a small group work page that you can refer to for exactly what to do in your small groups. But the first part of it is for you to look at your assignment sheets, to pull those out in your small groups and take turns in your group. Like the first person can say, were my examples for phonemic awareness. And then the second person might say, here are my examples for phonics. And talk about it, interact about it, because you might need to change something. And you can go ahead and edit your work if you need to. You can resubmit it afterwards. And because you should be in agreement, you might get to a phonemic awareness activity and somebody says something that you say, wait a second, I put this, and talk about if that actually fits under that category. When you're in your breakout, you have the option of pushing a help button, which calls me from the big room where I am just waiting. And I'll go into your breakout room and help you out. So if you get to a place that you're not sure, then call me in and I'll come in and see if I can help you to clarify. But at this point, I'm wanting you just to kind of see where you all are, and then I'll come in to help as needed. So are there any questions just generally about that activity? Before you get into actually talking about your data, you can give your opinions about my cute little baby here, Sammy, and his videos. Anybody want to say anything about just generally this activity and how it helped you, or questions that you have before you get into small groups? So nobody wants to say how cute he is? I'm waiting, seriously.
I mean, it was very.
I thought it was a good activity. I want to do that with my children who are older.
Thank you, appreciate it. What were you gonna say? Who else?
I actually enjoyed seeing a one-on-one like thingy, because like, yeah, in our assignments we say, oh, a teacher can work one-on-one to help the student, but this was like a nice way to actually see it. And it was kind of like when you did like the word puzzle, it made it almost seem kind of fun, you know, like it was efficient but also fun for Sammy to do the sentence. And you connected real life experience, like maybe he plays baseball with his friend that he mentioned in the sentence. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, good. Yeah, just those, you know, general comments about the one-on-one literacy lesson, which actually looks similar to something you'll be doing later in the semester with the student you're working with, but also how you know, we're seamlessly going in between reading and writing activities that should be right about that zone of proximal development for your student, where not too easy, not too hard. And if we really do a deep analysis of that video, there's some places we would say, man, that's a little hard. He needed a little more scaffold, you know, but it's like we said, we're never perfect. It's really just the video that we use as a point of discussion. And so it's really not about, oh, here's all the things we could do different. It's what do we see as evidence that's helpful here? And then, and of what are the different skills that Sammy was able to practice within that 40-minute lesson. Okay, so in your small groups, I'm going to go back to the document that is posted. So you want somebody in your group to go ahead and open this up, because the first thing oh wait, this is not the one from, this is not our group one. I might have posted the wrong one for you guys. Let me make sure, because I had made a small group. This is it, I think. Okay, if I posted the wrong one, I'll repost it in just a second. This is what it needs to look like. So you are either, in your small groups, you'll either have 3 to 4 of you, probably 3, and that makes it easier for discussion and time-wise. So jump in there and give everybody a role. You're either the facilitator, where you start out sharing and say who'll go next and keep things moving, or you're the timekeeper. You see there's 2 different things you're going to be working on during your small group time. And I think about 15 minutes each of those things will get you through your discussion. It might be a little less, it might be a little more, but I'm going to check on you around 30 minutes and see how you're doing. And the last person in your group be a note taker. And there's a few things here that you'll take notes about as you all are talking. And the note taker will submit this. There's an assignment link back on Canvas. And just the note taker submits that, not the rest of the group members. And then I'll go through and give you credit for this activity for today based on your note taker's notes. So make sure that they get your names listed and everything. So back on Canvas, this is posted. If it's the wrong one, I'll make sure I replace it. And also the class test alignment chart that you're going to be doing, looking at our activities and looking at our binders. So you'll have directions on that to follow, and I can jump in and help you if I need to once you look at it. So questions about your group work before we break out? Let me go back and make sure that I have the right one posted. I might have copied over from my other group. Like I said, it's going to be the groups of 3 or 4, so probably 3, just depending on how many we have today. So I'm fixing that real quick to get that right sheet up. But the other thing you want to go ahead and pull out is the that chart, the ELAR STR alignment chart, and everybody in your group will finish that, will do it and submit it individually, because that's going to be a resource for you. So you want to make sure and have that, but you work on it together. So everybody's might look exactly the same, but you still go ahead and submit it on your own. Okay, so now you'll see the right small group work document there. And I'll also make it where you guys can share your screen if you want to, because maybe you want one person to put up the alignment chart and then you can fill it out together. So that's a choice if you want to while you're in your groups, is to do the alignment chart to fill it out together like that. So everybody sees everything you need to do and where it is there on Canvas. I think I've got it all up now and updated. So then I'm going to break you out and put you where there are 3 to 4 in each group, hopefully mostly 3. And like I said, everybody assign your roles as you go in there, and then call me in if you need to. And I'll get your notification and I'll go in, I'll join your room. Otherwise, I'll send out a message here in about 30 minutes for you guys to be wrapping up. Okay, so see you in a bit. Yes, ma'am, Viviana.
On the this, what it says, the ELAR alignment chart, you open that up, it gives you kind of the same thing that we already did for last week. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, so now it's kind of like looking at the reflection chart. Let me make sure that I posted the right one. Yes, it's looking at the activities we did for this week, but now you're pulling in your binder and you're saying, okay, if as we're looking at the competencies, which ones fit with aligning with this activity? So for example, in the science of teaching reading competencies, it's like the first one that talks about needing to know about phonemic awareness and phonics. And so you're just it really looks the same, but what you're doing now is aligning up with the competencies from the exams.
I have a question too. So if I click on like the alignment chart, is there supposed to be some kind of like a document there that I would print out?
Yeah, so the document should come out. It's the ELAR-STR alignment chart document.
So nothing's popping up under mine, because when I tried doing the wrap up one for today, there was nothing, there was nothing I could click on, so I wasn't able to do it.
Okay, well, I'll look at that after. I mean, the wrap up from last week's work, you mean?
Yeah, and I can't find anything under the alignment chart either for today.
You have to go
Does
to
anybody
the
else see
module.
it?
And the small group work, I don't see a document.
It's because
So
you're
did-
supposed to go through it through the module, not like when it pops up on your to-do list. So if you go to like modules and you click on today's date and you click on the first one, it has everything lined up there.
Yeah, go through the modules link, not the assignment links or to-do list. Everything is detailed through the modules.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so you should see the documents there. Now the assignment link is blank, but that's where you'll upload your charts once you're done. Okay, guys, then I'm going to go ahead and divide you out. I see most of you will be in groups of 3, a couple of rooms of 4. But call me if you need help, and you see what you're going to be doing there, looking at that small group document. Okay, so I'll see you in a bit. Let me know if you have a question. Okay, so we're coming on back. The rooms are closing up. You just give a minute for everybody to join up. Let me just give a minute for everybody to join back up, and we'll talk about your work there. I think there's just a few more coming back. There we go. Okay, guys. Well, I'm sorry if you didn't have time to finish up, or if I cut you off. I feel weird about closing the rooms. It shows 60-second countdown, and I'm like, oh God, I'm sorry if you're not done yet. But you know, if you can take time after class to finish up that chart and just upload it as you finish it up. So one of the groups had questions about what all to include. Were some of you confused about what to put in that chart, or just did that make sense to you? My thought, go ahead. Somebody had a comment. Let me see. Is somebody trying to jump in?
What time is that chart going to be due?
I'll
Chart going to be due?
I'll give you through next week, you know, next Tuesday, because that really should wrap up this module, and that way you focus on that oral language module from here forward. So I'll put a due date for next Tuesday, but maybe you can just
awesome.
as we wrap up. Okay, so that's where you're bringing in the binders, guys, and we'll do this same kind of thing each time as we wrap up our discussion around whatever the unit was or the theme for that 2-week module. And the idea is that you use it as a resource to say, okay, here's what we've done in class and here's how I can connect it to what I need to know for the certification exam. And then it's a study tool when you go back later and say, I don't remember this term, I don't remember, you know, what this descriptive statement is asking me. And then you'll look and you'll see on your chart, oh yeah, we did that visual or that cute little video of Sammy to help you remember that, yes, you do have connections to those different things there. So said, it will get easier the more that you do it because you'll become more and more familiar with the competencies. Right now, it's maybe a little harder because you're searching through everything to find what fits. But, you know, so can anybody jump in and say, here's one that I found either out of the ELAR or the STR that fits into one of the activities for today? And by the way, they might not all fit. They don't all align. So it might be an NA in some of those rows, but some of them really do. So did anybody have something you can help us with? And then I'll kind of take it from there. Anybody find an alignment?
We think we found one for the literacy article, and we got it from the STR, and it was the competency number 2, which is the foundations of reading, which states that you understand the foundational concepts, principles, and best practices related to reading assessment. So in the literacy article, we saw like the different types of assessments, and then there was like a scoring chart at the bottom. So we thought that those went kind of hand in hand. But.
Great. Yes, that fits perfectly. So you would say like comp 2 B, you know, so to show the competency number and what is the descriptive statement or the for example statement that they have there. I see one under competency 1. Did anybody find that one to align with any of our activities from this week? Standard is from the STR, competency 1.
Oh.
Go ahead, Selma.
My group, we found that the essential components of literacy activity, that fits with the STR competency 1. And we're not too sure, but we said descriptive statement A.
Yeah, I mean, look right there in A is where it points out you need to know about these components of reading instruction: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and text comprehension. That's what you learned about in the literacy article. That's what you did in the components of reading activity. That's what the visual is helping you to see what it is. And so you have a lot of resources for that A statement and for you to note down there. And then if you look closer, you might say in the terms that you need to study more that you're not sure about, somebody might say, well, what is the National Literacy Panel or something like that. If you're looking at that statement and something still you're not sure about, then put that into something you want to learn more about. So really there's not, you know, you're not going to find just multiple ones that we're covering, especially not in our first week of class. But as we move forward, it's going to kind of move through, like we're about to start oral language. So now it's going to be easy for you to find where are the competencies that are focused on oral language. And then hopefully we'll cover several of those statements, descriptive statements, and the activities that you're going to be doing. So like I said, this will get easier each time. But for right now, it's just the exercise doing, how it will help you, and then knowing that we're going to build on that. And also recognizing some of the activities we do, you know, the idea isn't to teach to the test when we're in class together. It's to give you activities and projects that help you to be a successful teacher of reading and writing. But along with those activities, you're learning a lot about what you need to know for this test. So some of the things are directly aligned. Some of them are more directed towards your future classrooms and you won't find them listed in the competencies. So that's fine. So that just means that in your chart, you might have some NA, not available. And then what you do with that chart, you send it to me, and I just want to make sure you're completing it and that you're not missing anything there. And then you can print out that chart after each 2 weeks time and put it in your class reflections part of your binder. And that way you're having a chart that's going to help you really look across our class this semester and see all the different things that we covered within the competencies. Okay, so like I said, I'll put a due date for next Tuesday for that chart, but it's really, like I said, there's not a whole lot that we're covered. So if you're just looking at those first few competencies in the beginning parts, then that's where you'll need to focus on. It's not like you're going to find things within the later ones, because right now we are still in the foundational part. Okay, so does that make sense? That kind of helps you to know what to do with that chart. And then just your note taker will submit the work for your small group just to let me know how that went and if there were any pending questions over that assignment. Hopefully you each got to kind of talk about and get some clarifications around what each of those component areas include when it comes to what instruction looks like. Are there any questions you want to clarify before we go on, or I can just look and see what my note taker said and get back to you if there's anything pressing?
For the glossary part, or the terms, do we have to go to the literacy article to find terms, or do you just want us to like generalizing the assessments and stuff?
No, it's really looking at the competency statement, and if you're reading that descriptive statement and there's still terms in there that you're not sure about, then what I'm saying is to do a cross check into the glossary that you printed out and see, is that term listed there with its definition? And if so, you can highlight it. And if not, you might put a post-it that you want to go in and include that word in your glossary. So
Okay,
it's
then,
nothing to create from scratch. It's just if you're looking at the statements and there's still some terms there that you don't know, then to go ahead and put them there.
And then, so we print out that chart that we just did right now and put it on our class, our course reflection. So if only one person did it, do we have to email it to our other partners?
Yes, I want everybody to submit it, even if it looks the same for your whole group. That way I see that everybody has their own copy of it, even if it's the same as the partners.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody turn that into the link there. Okay. So now as we are wrapping up, and like I said, we have kind of a pattern, just like we did today. This will be pretty consistently what we'll be doing in our class time together, looking at the previous week's assignments, having some time to discuss them and, respond to questions or clarifications, and then really see where our alignment is, how that information will be used in our classrooms and on the exams. And then doing hopefully some kind of assessment that helps me to see how you all did on that new work that you did over the last couple of weeks. And then just making sure that you're good for what's coming up. So right now, let me go ahead and share my screen again, because this isn't for a grade or anything, but it's a little Kahoot quiz, my favorites, for practicing these, the components that we talked about, the areas of literacy instruction. And so hopefully what you see in this quiz is pretty familiar to you. And then you see that the link is still there as a resource for going back to study and use it as, to refresh in this area. So what it is, just like before in the classrooms, you hopefully have your Kahoot app. Do you have that on your phone? And then I'm going to give you this code here in just a second for you to join up. If you don't have the app, if you can download it real quick, or just watch along, but hopefully you download it, because then you can access it later. And if you already have it downloaded, there's the pin. Okay, so I'll wait a few minutes. And again, this is fun. Hopefully this is going to be not super hard because it's what we've been talking about. And then if you're needing to go back to review, you'll be able to do that. So go ahead and join up with the Kahoot app. You see the code there, and I'll start it when I see a few more of you joining up as you can. And by the way, guys, I've uploaded what I had for the chat box. It's up there in today's module for those of you that had come in a few minutes behind or asked for that. So that's there. You don't have to do it now, but that way it's there for you to do as we finish up. Good job joining up. Let me see if anybody else is coming in. Yes. Let's see how we do here. Okay, we're about to get started. Let's see. Oh, I don't know how to. I want to get started, but it keeps on timing further on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to make sure everybody joins up and get us all started here. There we go. Okay, here we go. This is going to be quick. I only have it set for 10 seconds in between. I'll change the settings if I need to, if it's going too fast. So this is really just practice. You can come back to it in a bit if you need to. Sorry, guys. I think I need to add more time to those answers to give you more time to read. Is that it? Okay, I got a few more. Yay. All right, good job, guys. Overall, Angel, Salma, and Valeria, very nice. And so this is cool because it actually helps me to see, you know, I get to do a report as to which questions were harder, which ones we did better on. And like I said, you have the link to that quiz as well. But one thing that I'm noting here that I want to say loudly to make it easier for you right off is the difference between phonemic awareness and phonics. That was a confusion on this assessment right now, and maybe also on the assignment with the videos. Guys, when you're doing phonemic awareness activities, when you're assessing phonemic awareness, it has to do with sounds in the word and breaking up words through oral activities. And so I think the first question was phonemic awareness, like can be done in the dark or something like that. That was the answer. Because those types of activities, you can close your eyes and still do them. When you're singing out loud orally and you say, I say fun, run, and you say, and they say bun. That's a rhyming activity that's part of phonemic awareness. When you show them a picture of the sun and you tell them, let's break up this word in its part, in its sounds, by its sounds, we can say, And so that's phonemic awareness. we turn over the card and it has the word sun on it, and now it's phonics because letters are involved. And now they have to see the activity in order to be successful. So the relationship between letters and sounds, that's phonics, where they're pulling what they know from phonemic awareness into phonics. When it has to do with just, and that's why we say phonemic awareness, phonological awareness is the base, because they got to understand how to manipulate sounds before they can start looking at the words and putting them together. I mean, it kind of all works together, but phonemic awareness comes first. You know, when we're riding around in our car with our toddlers and we're singing songs and they're rhyming with us, all of that is phonemic awareness. So your key terms, when you're thinking, what is phonemic awareness, what activity, what assessment, is that it's oral. So there's no letters or words attached to it. It is sound only activities. And so it's how we break up the words, but it's all by sound. And the activity, whatever the activity is, you could close your eyes and do it. You could lead your students to do it with their eyes closed in the dark, because it doesn't have anything to do with looking at words or letters. Okay, so any questions about that? Does that help a little bit? I think with Sammy, I think in the video I clapped out, let's clap that word. So clapping out syllables is phonemic awareness, looking at a picture and pulling it apart, any of those things. But once we start looking at letters or words, that's phonics.
Okay, thank you for explaining that, because that's what one of our groups was talking about, because I kind of get confused between both of them, and when we're talking about it, we're kind of like, well, which one went in what place on the assignment.
Good. So now you guys go ahead and fix that if you need to, and resubmit your assignment if you need to, and I'll look at the ones that's submitted after today if you need to make some corrections. But yeah, it's whatever, and actually that's coming up in our next module is phonology and phonemic awareness and phonics. So we're going to cover it quite a bit more, but this is important to keep in mind as you're moving forward. Just you need to assess in phonemic awareness, and you're going to see the assessment that we do. It has to do with ways of working with words through sounds and how we take them apart before we start looking at the words.
I have a question, Professor Rodriguez. Okay, so it's phonemes, right? Phonemic, and then isn't another one that start with a P? I think it's like 3 of them that start with P's, and I kind of get confused sometimes. I remember phonemic because I like phoned. I know you talk to orally, so that's how I remember phonemic. Mm-hmm. But the other ones I get confused because they all start with the P, and they kind of look alike too. And I'm a visual person, so when I see it, I get confused. So what's the third P?
Well, you know, and really that is coming up, and I am trying some different things to help us with that module with phonology. So, you know, we have the phonological awareness, which we say is the big umbrella. And then underneath that are the different skills our students need to have to be phonologically aware. And that includes the phonemic awareness. And within phonemic awareness, that's its own umbrella. And it has its own components of what students need to do to be phonemically aware. And that includes understanding what phonemes are and understanding what graphemes are, and working with words and replacing the initial sounds, doing all of these activities orally that we need our students to do before we can expect them to start doing it written and looking at the words. So we'll get to all of those terms. That's coming up, but it's good for you to kind of be working through those because it is confusing, and what's going to help are the visuals that we're going to be pulling out, because I think of it like an umbrella, and then each has its own aura. A big tree with its own branch, and each branch has a bunch of different leaves because each component includes many different elements to it. So it's confusing, but we'll work through it and kind of break it apart. That's what's coming up. First is oral language, because remember our visual, my beautiful hot air balloon, that's what fuels everything when it comes to literacy development. So that comes first when we're talking about kind of working through the order of these components. So in the next couple of weeks, you're going to delve into oral language and all these different characteristics of language. And then we'll come back together and say, you know, what is the visual that encompasses this huge component of oral language and all the little pieces that go with it. There's some language systems you're going to learn about. There's some functions of language, stages of oral language development. So a lot of different pieces that you'll be learning about through this next couple of weeks. And so right now you see that I have posted for sure your readings. Give me a little bit of time and I'll get the activities all organized and put up there because I was reworking them up until last night. So give me some time. Within 24 hours, you'll see all of this posted here. And those will be the actual activities that you do. But like I said, you have 2 weeks. And the reason being, because you're going to look at some of these articles and some are maybe 5 pages and a couple of them are maybe 15 pages. And so it might be you take a day to read each one or you divide it into different times because these are great resources and you're going to use what is in these readings to help you with the activities that are coming up that I'll be posting. And so you definitely have something to get you started if you're ready to jump into the work right now. So any questions about any of those things? I know that I'm leaving you hanging on some things that you're still not certain about, but know that that is coming up. And by the way, with the Science of Teaching Reading, I want to mention this because you know how I'm breaking up that series of test prep sessions across the different competencies. And what's coming up on Friday starts the phonology piece, looking at phonics and phonemic awareness. So on Friday's session, we're going to be doing a lot of these things that you're asking about to help us clarify that. But and then later in those sessions, we're going to cover some oral language because that's the way it comes up in those competencies. So I don't want you guys to get confused, you know, like we're going to cover it there first and then come back and cover it here. But I think it's good to get that overlap and we'll start on that discussion and come back to this one when it comes to that series, test prep series. So you'll be hearing some overlap and you'll hear some things ahead of time that you'll later hear again in class. And so that these things you're talking about with phonology and phonological awareness, that's coming up. That's coming up on Friday and I'm pulling things together for that. Okay, any other questions? That's a lot of talking to make sure you're all on track and know what's coming up. But as we wrap up, your last thing will be to open this oral language quick write document. And just like we did before, just wrap up with you taking a few minutes of writing and reflecting on oral language, what you know about oral language. And I put some things that might include any of those systems that you remember, any assessments or activities that you might remember. Just 5 minutes of quick write to get yourself thinking about what's coming up in your in our next bit of assignments. So I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes and you guys go ahead. And by the way, I put up our Zoom link, so that's there for every time. So go ahead and do your quick right now, guys, and then submit it to the assignment link that's there in today's module. And that's what will be your attendance for today, your oral language quick write. And let's take 5 minutes to write and then we'll wrap up and you either sign off if you're done or stick around if you have questions for me. Let me do 5 minutes now.
For the submission box for the assignments or the class participation, there's no link to it.
Okay, let me see if I need to fix that. Probably my mistake over here. Yep. Do you see it there now?
No.
Okay.
I have the same problem with I have it for the quick write, the small group, and the chart. Like I see no submission box.
So submit assignment, there it is for the quick write. If you're going under the modules and they're underneath here, this is where they go in there and it does have it. Are you guys not seeing it?
Mine just gives me the link. It says small groups and then download the small group document. But
Well, it's outside of the page of the, I'm still sharing my screen, right? So it's not on the page, it's outside under the module or where the links are.
Well, that's where I went. I went to module and then I did the oral language activities where the whole.
Right, so do it at the oral language quick write that's right underneath that activities page.
That's how I did it, and it still doesn't give me an assignment. I mean, a upload link.
Okay, well, is everybody not seeing it? I just don't know what to do because I have it where it is. It's just showing as a.
Oh, I got it. I just went through the assignments tab now. I didn't go through the module.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. It should work in both places, but just get it up there.
I'm trying to download the quick write, but doesn't download. How should I submit it?
So it's not letting you download the document where you can submit it in the link?
No.
I don't know. I mean, you download the document, you type on it, you save it, and then you go to the assignment link and upload it.
Yeah, I'm trying to download it so I can write on it because it doesn't let me write on it.
Is that happening for everybody? I'm not sure. Let me see. I guess I can post it again.
It's
working for me. Enable editing.
Oh, you enable editing.
You probably gotta go back and hit enable editing.
What I did is I just went to the assignment tab on the side instead of modules, and it popped up the submit.
Oh no, you have to go to modules and go to that first, like on February 2nd, where it says I forgot what it calls.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the document through the module there.
Yeah, I went through the module, but the module didn't have a submission box, so I went through the assignment tab, and that's where I could submit it.
I do see it. I see the link. It says oral language quick write. That's the link to submit it under the module for February 2nd.
It is there. It sounds like it's also under the assignment link. So whatever works for you.
On module.
I just went through the assignment because the module didn't give me an option, but the assignment did.
Okay, and I really can't see how come. I'm sorry, guys. But it seems like you are able to get it in there now. So you should be able to put it under for today. Okay, I'm sorry. You're like coming in and out. Your sound isn't working. Start again, Araceli. Your sound is like coming in and out, so I didn't hear you. Okay, I'm very sorry. I can't, it's just like you're cutting in and out and I couldn't hear you, but it looks like you have something you're wanting to submit there. You can either, I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I just can't hear what you're saying. You can put it in the chat box. Oh, there's our 5-minute timer. For the note taker assignment. Okay, good. Thank you, Araceli. So the note taker assignment, I think I made a link for it too, back in the small group. Do I submit it in the 2.2? Is that where it is? Let me see. I'll go back and check. It is under the link for under today's module. Yeah, small group work 2.2. That's where it goes for the note taker. Okay, guys. So, you know, you have over the next, I'll give the next, 24 hours to get your quick write uploaded, even though it really should just be 5 minutes of where you are right now, nothing that needs to be too detailed. And then you upload that as your record of attendance today. If you're absent, you still upload it, and I can give you some absent points back, some attendance points back. There are several that are missing today, but I'm going to upload the recorded session, so you're always able to access that if you need to.
Professor Rodriguez, one question. So the small group work, only one person submitted for our group, correct? And just make sure our names is on there.
That's right. Make sure your note taker put your group names on there, because that's how everybody will get credit for that assignment. And so now we're wrapping up, guys. We're finishing. Thank you for your work, and especially in the small groups and getting everything submitted in spite of our technology issues. But so the chart I'm going to give you until next Tuesday. I said just give you a week of wrapping up this module, but really finish it as soon as you can. That way you can focus on the oral language module and the work that's coming up now. We don't meet next week. The idea is to give you that time to work through your module, and when we come back together, do the same thing again with our review and moving forward. So, but definitely be in contact with me. If you want to meet during class time, we can. If you want to have a quick call or a Zoom meeting, whatever's needed. And then also remember the Friday sessions. Hopefully you're joining up with those. So now you can either sign off and have a good rest of your week, or let me know if you have questions. I'll stick around here as we're finishing up. Thank you. See you
Would
all.
you be sending, would you be sending the link for us to register?
Dr. Player will be sending the link. She said today or tomorrow at the latest. So you should get that. If you haven't registered yet before, then register. If you have, then you don't need to register again. I'll just send out the same Zoom link through the announcements on that, through that Canvas course for Friday. It's the same one as this past Friday. Okay, so you should see that here soon. Anyone?
I'm sorry. How am I gonna get this registration for the?
We're gonna get the registration from Dr. Player. It's through the Elevate Institute, so she oversees those registrations. So she's gonna send out a new one for Friday. She actually said today, but I expect by tomorrow. If for some reason you don't get it, then email me by Thursday and say, hey, I didn't get the registration, and I'll get you. I'll get it to you.
I have a question about the Peer Deck assignment. That one manually saves, correct? And then you just go manually grade it?
Yes, and I'll go in and do that now since it was due today. I wanted to give everybody time, but yes, there's nothing to submit on Canvas. I will see everything there on Peer Deck.
And also about the
okay,
quiz.
cool. Because whenever I finished it didn't say like.
Yeah, I know that's stressful for some to not see some kind of confirmation, but whatever you're inputting into the slide, it saves it there, and then I print out a report that shows me everything together.
What about the quiz? The quiz says it shows like some answers were wrong. Are you gonna update those?
You mean the Kahoot one?
No, the quiz from last week. I mean last session.
Oh yes, I need to go in and update those grades because manually fix scores for the fill in the blank. Yes, I had done that earlier on, and then if you've submitted since then, I'll go in and do it again. That's right. Thank you for the reminder. Anything else, guys?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good rest of your week and hope to see you on Friday.